So this video is going to be on Brushy Bill Roberts' timeline. His what he claims to be the timeline of all the events from when he was born up until when he died. And not condoning whether I believe it or not. Just going to put out what his position was on the timeline of his life. And I got this information from the book The Trial of Billy the Kid by Bobby Hefner. So anyway, I'm going to show you what the timeline that Brushy Bill Roberts has laid out. Brushy Bill Roberts, the man that claimed to be Billy the Kid, was born and christened William Henry Roberts at Buffalo Gap, Taylor County, 10 miles south of Abilene, Texas, on December 31st, 1859. In 1862, Father Wild Bill Henry Roberts leaves family to join the Confederate Army. In 1863, the kid's mother, Mary Adeline Dunn Roberts, dies in Hamilton County, Texas. In 1865, his half-aunt, Catherine Bonnie McCarty, takes Billy to live with her mother in their home in Indian Territory, Oklahoma. Michael McCarty, Catherine's husband, is killed in the Civil War. In 1867, Mrs. McCarty meets and begins courtship with William Antrim, employee of Merchants Union Express Company, Indianapolis, Indiana. In 1868, Mrs. McCarty makes her residence at 199 Northeast Street, Indianapolis, Indiana, a few blocks from the apartment of William Antrim. In 1870, Mrs. McCarty accepts William Antrim's invitation to move to Wichita, Kansas. Billy Henry Roberts McCarty returns to his father and stepmother in Hamilton County, near Carlton, Texas. In 1872, the kid has trouble with his father and leaves to join a cattle drive to Kansas and rejoins his Aunt Bonnie and her family. Warranty deeds reveal both Mrs. McCarty and William Antrim purchased government Indian land near the town of Wichita for $2 per acre. In 1873, gold fever touches William Antrim, and he and Mrs. McCarty and the two boys moved to Santa Fe, New Mexico. Mrs. McCarty is married to William Antrim in the First Presbyterian Church by Pastor McFarland. Both boys witnessed the ceremony, Santa Fe, New Mexico. The Antrim family moves to Silver City, New Mexico, where Mr. Antrim finds employment as a miner, and Mrs. Antrim operates a rooming and dining house near the mining area of Silver City, New Mexico. 16 September 1874, Mrs. Antrim dies of tuberculosis. This is the original headstone of where she was buried in Silver City, New Mexico. And this is the one that's there today. Uncle Bill Antrim and the boys remain in Silver City, New Mexico. They move to a rooming boarding house in town where the two boys continue their education and work a part-time job after school hours and holidays. In August 1875, Billy gets into trouble with the law by being party to a joke which consists of taking a bundle of laundry from a Chinese laundry in Silver City. He breaks jail and leaves for Arizona. He takes a job at the Grant Military Fort for 2 years. In July 1877, Billy kills in self-defense Frank Cahill, a post blacksmith at a saloon and recreation hall near Fort Grant Military Post. In August 1877, Billy leaves the McKnight Ranch, bypassing Silver City. He travels on to Mesilla, New Mexico, on the Rio Grande River. In September 1877, after failing to find work at any ranch in the Mesilla Valley area, he decides to go on to John Chisholm's ranch on the Pecos River. He travels with a new friend, Tom O'Keefe. They journey directly east across the Rio Grande River and over the Guadalupe Mountains. Apache Indians attack and Tom O'Keefe is killed. Billy manages to escape. In October 1877, after traveling for 2 weeks on foot, half-starved, Billy reaches Jones Ranch at 7 Rivers, Mama Jones, known on the Pecos as the Angel of the Pecos. She gives him room and board until his feet and body are well enough to travel. With a good horse and a saddle and food given to him by Jones, he heads for the Chisholm Ranch. On 20 October 1877, Billy arrives at the Chisholm Ranch, but stays only a short time because no work is available. He moves on, going up the Hondo Valley to the ranches of George and Frank Coe. On 25 October 1877, Billy is accepted as a cowhand at the George Coe Ranch. He works with the Coe brothers until December. In December 1877, Billy learns that John Tunstall has a need for cowboys to work with his horses and cattle. Tunstall employs Billy to look after his fine horses. January 1878, Billy works well with John Tunstall and establishes a close friendship with him and the cowboys on the ranch. 18 February 1878, John Tunstall is killed by a posse of outlaws with the Lincoln County Sheriff. They take the fine horses that were being taken to Lincoln town for safekeeping. The spark is set for the Lincoln County War after the cold-blooded murder of John Tunstall. On 22 February 1878, Billy attends Tunstall's funeral at Lincoln town. April 1st, 1878, Billy and 3 other men ambush Sheriff Brady and Deputy Hingman on the main street of Lincoln town. Over a year later, 17 March 1879, Billy the Kid meets with Governor Lew Wallace in Lincoln. The governor offers immunity if he'll turn state's evidence. 21 March 1879, Billy the Kid and Doc Skurlock surrenders to Sheriff Kimbrell and is brought to Lincoln. On 14 April 1879, territorial court convenes at Lincoln. Billy testifies on Chapman murder to the grand jury. On April 16, 1879, Billy the Kid walks out of the Lincoln County Jail. On 28 May 1879, Billy testifies at Colonel Dudley's Court of Inquiry. On January 10, 1880, Billy kills Joe Grant at Fort Sumner at a saloon in self-defense. Almost a year later, on 13 December 1880, Governor Wallace posts a $500 reward for the capture of Billy the Kid. On 21 December 1880, Charlie Bowtry is killed at a place called Stinking Springs, New Mexico, by Sheriff Pat Garrett and his posse. Billy the Kid, along with others, are captured. And on 28 December 1880, Billy the Kid is jailed in Santa Fe, New Mexico. On April 13, 1881, Billy the Kid is found guilty and sentenced to hang. On 28 April 1881, Billy the Kid escapes from the Lincoln County Jail. In the process, he kills Deputy Ollinger and Deputy Bell. May 1st, 1881, Billy stays undercover at Gutierrez and Jose Silva's home. Later, he stays at Yerby's Ranch north of Fort Sumner until July 10th. On 12 July 1881, Billy rides into Fort Sumner a few days before Pat Garrett and posse arrives. On 14 July 1881, the day that history records that Pat Garrett shot and killed Billy the Kid, Brushy Bill Roberts' claim is that Bonnie the Kid has a shootout with Garrett and the posse after Billy Barlow was killed by mistake. Billy takes 2 flesh wounds, one to the jaw, losing 1 tooth, and the other a scalp wound. Early morning, 15 July 1881, Billy leaves Fort Sumner about 3 a.m. with Frank Lobato. He stays at sheep camps the next day. On 16 July 1881, Billy travels south to another sheep or cattle camp and stays there until his wounds heal enough to travel. A couple weeks later, On 1 August 1881, Billy heads for El Paso, where he crosses the Rio Grande near Anthony, Texas, heads on into Sonora, Mexico. He stays and works for the Yaqua Indians. A couple years later, in 1883, Billy the Kid returns to the United States, crossing the border at El Paso, Texas. He stays a few days with Mr. and Mrs. John C. Abel of El Paso. They furnish him with a horse, saddle, and funds to go to Hamilton, Texas to locate his father and relatives. Billy takes the name the Texas Kid and gets a job in Decatur, Texas, breaking horses for rancher Tom Wagner. In 1884, Billy travels to the Black Hills of Dakota and works as a scout for the state coach lines. In 1888, Billy joins the Pinkerton Detective Agency. His assignment is to locate and capture horse thieves up and down the Red River in Texas and Oklahoma areas. In 1892, Billy joins the U.S. Marshal Service under the authority of Judge Isaac Parker, the hanging judge of the U.S. District Court of Fort Smith, Arkansas. His assignment is to track down the Dalton boys for killing a U.S. Marshal. In 1893, Billy receives an invitation to come to the Republic of Argentina to work and ride in the rodeo. The Cattlemen's Association sponsors his trip. In 1884, Billy goes back to his old job as deputy marshal in Oklahoma and serves 3 more years tracking down horse and cattle thieves. In 1898, under an alias that Brushy Bill Roberts either didn't disclose or it didn't get passed on to the historians, but either way, he used an alias and enlisted in the Army at Muskogee, Oklahoma, and joined Teddy Roosevelt's Rough Riders. He served in Cuba in the Spanish-American War. In 1902, Billy is mustered out of the Rough Riders after the close of the Spanish-American War. He goes back to Old Mexico to take a job on a ranch. In 1907, Billy and 2 other cowboys start a ranch of their own in Old Mexico, known as the 3 Bar Ranch. From 1912 to 1929, Billy returns to the United States, crossing the Rio Grande at Brownsville, Texas. He goes to East Texas and Oklahoma, buying and trading horses and working in rodeos. From 1929 to 1940, Billy's friend DeWitt Travis, an oil man, helps him during these years in Longview and Gladwater, Texas. He works as a plainclothes policeman in Gladwater, Texas. Dr. Cruz, a dentist in Gladwater, pulls his 2 eye teeth in 1933. In 1945, Billy the Kid retires and moves with his 3rd wife to Hamilton and Hyco, Texas. He lives his last years in Hyco. For the final 20 years of his life, he goes by the name of O.L. Brushy Bill Roberts. On the 28th and 29th of November 1950, William Morrison and Brushy Bill Roberts met with Governor Thomas Marbury in Santa Fe, New Mexico, seeking the pardon that was promised to him over 70 years ago. The governor had some of Pat Garrett's relatives there with him and did not believe Brushy Bill Roberts' story of being Billy the Kid. On this spot, on 27 December 1950, Brushy Bill Roberts collapsed on the sidewalk, and they've got it marked here where he fell of an apparent heart attack, December 27, 1950. He is buried down the road in Hamilton, Texas, and this is his grave marker. And at the top it reads, Billy the Kid. So there it is. That's the timeline, according to Brushy Bill Roberts, of his life from beginning to end, basically. And this is in Bobby Hefner's book, The Trial of Billy the Kid. And he got most of his information from a guy named William Tunstall. Not to be confused with John Tunstall, but William Tunstall was considered he's a historian and considered a authority on Brushy Bill Roberts. So anyway, a lot of what's in this book came from that. So anyway, this is the timeline that Brushy Bill Roberts claims. And, I know there's people out there, the people that believe Brushy Bill Roberts, not trying to get you guys' feathers ruffled, but I want to believe, but I just don't. I just don't. I haven't seen anything that is so overwhelming to make me believe it. And honestly, going through this timeline is taking me further the other way, because this guy's claimed to be a part of everything. I mean, he was a deputy U.S. Marshal hunting down the Dalton gang. Billy the Kid was hunting down the Dalton gang with a badge on his chest. He was a Pinkerton detective. He was he was a marshal under Isaac Parker, the hanging judge, the famous hanging judge. He was with Teddy Roosevelt's Rough Riders, and he fought in Cuba, Spanish-American War, lived with Indians, had his own ranch in Mexico, was up in the Dakotas. I mean, this guy was like the Forrest Gump of the Wild West, if everything he says is true. So, and don't forget, he backed up Frank Dalton's claim to be Jesse James. And, he didn't claim to be a part of Jesse James' gang, or Brushy Bill doesn't, I don't think. But anyway, the story is very fanciful to me, and it actually takes away from the credibility a little bit to me. But there's some stuff in that timeline I gave. There's some names and stuff that can probably be checked. So I'm going to probably look a little deeper. I'm looking for that evidence that makes me a believer. I just haven't found it yet. Anyway, hope you liked the video. Please be respectful in the comments. I'm looking for evidence, so if you got something that I should take a look at that is going to put me over the edge, let me know. Thanks for watching.